What is up, guys? Here back with another YouTube video. Today we are going to be talking about a massive episode of severe weather that will be going on in the next 5 days or so here, guys. So there's going to be a lot to talk about, and let's get right into this video. So today for the day one outlook, there's a big enhanced risk in Texas and New Mexico here, stretching all the way up to from Amarillo all the way down to Odessa. Areas that are impacted are areas like Midland, Odessa, San Angelo, Abilene, Lubbock, Amarillo, and a lot of these different areas will have a bunch of these supercells forming out ahead of them, and that will just push east and produce big hailmakers and maybe even tornadoes from this here, guys. So yeah, this is going to be a big event, and this massive marginal risk extends all the way over here, all the way over into Ohio. This is just a massive risk here, guys. And then there's another little slight risk over here in North Carolina and Virginia here that might pose a threat for more severe weather here. So just keep an eye on that if you live in areas like Roanoke and Greensboro. Oh yeah, don't mind if I'm sniffing because I'm having bad allergies right now. So you can see there's a massive 5% risk for tornadoes here in this area that will have these supercells developing out ahead of these areas right here that you can see. And then another 2% threat for tornadoes over here in areas like Ohio, and like areas like Pittsburgh, close to Cleveland, Charleston, Roanoke, Greensboro, and a little bit to the south of Richmond here. Like all these different areas are going to be under this. Yeah, just keep an eye on that. So, then the wind risk is a big wind risk. So there's a 15% chance of wind over here. See, the wind risk is a little lower, but it's still there here in these areas because because these storms could end up producing some wind damage. But I do think that this area will have the highest threat for wind over here, as you can see. Mainly a threat for wind over here, not really much for hail, but it's still there. And then for this, you can see this is your big, and I mean big hail risk right here. And I think this is a SIG hail risk for 2 to 3 inch hail possibly from this. All in this area is from these supercellular thunderstorms developing out ahead of this. So this is just to keep an eye on. Keep your cars inside, so you don't want to get pounded by hail. And then for the day 2 outlook, the day 2 outlook has a massive outlook here, stretching all the way down into Texas, all the way up into Missouri here, with the main threats being in this area over here. But anybody in this has to be most weather aware in this yellow or orange here. And there's like Oklahoma City, Norman, Oklahoma, Tulsa, Wichita, even into Springfield. And a lot of these areas need to be very weather aware for this. And then for the tornado outlook, this is a hatched 10% significant risk for tornadoes here. So this is going to be a big tornado event. This could be large, long-track tornadoes, strong tornadoes that could form out ahead of this near the Oklahoma City area and the Wichita, and anywhere in these areas could have a tornado threat. So we're going to have to keep a big eye on this. And then the wind threat it's not the biggest threat. It's only a 15%, but it's still there in a lot of these areas here. But I think the hail threat is going to be a little bit more from this system too, as there's a big hail threat in areas like Wichita, Bartlesville, Tulsa, and Oklahoma City here. So yeah, this is going to be pretty impactful here. And then for the day 3 outlook, the day 3 outlook has a massive outlook here, stretching all in these areas. The main threats being in these areas in Kentucky, Indiana, and Tennessee, and areas like close to Cincinnati, Louisville, Lexington, Evansville, Clarksville, and all these different areas are going to be in Bowling Green. All these different areas are going to be impacted by that, so keep an eye on this. And now we are going to go back. Now we are going to go look at the models for this system. So now if we look at the HRRR model here, we can get a look at when these storms will form. And you know, right around this time, a big line of storms headed into areas like New Orleans and produced some wind damage here. And you can see right here, there could be a big squall line of storms forming here and produce some big time wind damage that forms here. Maybe even a little bit of hailmakers form here. But mainly these things will produce some big wind damage as they stretch east here. Around 1 p.m., these storms will really start to get going here near Roanoke and Greensboro and all these other areas. And then same thing with this. Now if we look at this, the HRRR model for over here, you can see this is 10 a.m. right now. You can see the first storm forms around right there. It forms into a big time supercell, and this is your first big time supercell forming right here near Fort Stockton, producing some big time hail most likely, and even more supercells over here could be producing big time hail and possibly even tornadoes. And you can see this thing is going to be producing some big time hailstorms here, guys, and just all stretching east. It just tons of hail makers and supercells forming all the way up to Amarillo, all the way down here to Fort Stockton and San Angelo. All stretching east. So be very weather aware on this, guys, as these storms will really start to stretch through around 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. and really come through. So that's a big thing that you might want to be keeping an eye on here, guys. And now, if we look at the dew points. Now when you look at the dew points, there are some big time dew points that are stretching all the way up here into the 60s down here. And even maybe stretching up to 60 degrees over here. And these storms really have some big time dew points here in the 60s. And they don't seem to be really stretching up until about 5 p.m. These dew points will probably really make storms to form here near Lubbock. And maybe even up to Amarillo here. But I do find that the biggest threat will probably be in the southern side of the enhanced risk, in my opinion. Right down here. But there can also be some massive hail makers all the way in these areas right here. That's a big thing to be keeping an eye on here. Now if we look at the surface-based cape, there's probably a ton of cape out here. Yeah, there's 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram of cape here. A ton of cape forming in these areas. 2,000 cape all the way up here to really support these big-time thunderstorms to form here. All the way down from here, all the way up to there. Some big-time supercells could form. Even down to Austin, some supercells can form here and really produce some big-time storms here. So we'll have to be keeping an eye on this, guys. Now, if we look at the significant tornado parameter. So there's not much of a threat for significant tornadoes today, which is a good sign. Today is that there's not really much of a risk for significant tornadoes. That's a pretty good sign here, guys. But now if we look at the supercell composite here, man, this is probably going to blow up. I bet you. Yeah, just tons of supercell composite blowing up over here. and just a lot of areas that support these supercells to form here. So this is going to be a pretty big day here in this area, so we're going to have to be keeping an eye on this. Oh, man. And now we're going to look at these storms that will form tomorrow. So tomorrow, we have if we switch to severe weather, we have a big time enhanced risk of severe weather here that is pointing out here, with the main threats being near Oklahoma City and Tulsa and Wichita, right around this area. So be very weather aware if you live in this area, and even everywhere in the slight risk too. Anybody needs to be weather aware here, guys. And now if we stretch this through, you can see those storms were forming over there. And this is still Sunday, so we gotta wait till it gets Monday here. There's gonna be a lot of rain around this area on Monday. And just when we get this clearing to form, right around this time we get our clearing. From all this rain over here, we'll get all this clearing. And these big time thunderstorms will start to form here and produce some big time, possibly supercells that produce big time hail, strong tornadoes, and even some wind damage here. From all the way up to Wichita here, all the way down to Oklahoma City, these storms can really shape up and form. And even a squall line could form, showing from the NAM 3-kilometer model that has in Tulsa and brings some big wind damage here. So that's also a possibility of a big squall line to form here and produce some big-time wind damage. But if any big-time supercells form around here, they could produce some big-time tornadoes and really strike here. And now if we look at the dew points, see if when these shape up here. So this is still Sunday, but now we're in Monday. These dew points really, and I mean really form here. I mean, this is just the perfect fuel for these thunderstorms to form. 70s all the way down here. And all these big time dew points of up to 60 on all the way into the 60s up to Wichita. And then here near Oklahoma City is almost reaching 70-degree dew points here. So this is going to be pretty intense. And even these 70s forming all the way down here. So some big time dew points to form here, and then a massive dry line is gonna form behind it here and really shape up for some big time fires in this area. And then as a sharp dry line with very dry air and then very moist air behind it right around here, and then it really kicks in and goes, and the dry line really takes this down. So we're gonna really have to be keeping an eye on this here today, guys. Tomorrow, I meant. And now, if we look at the significant tornado parameter. So the significant tornado parameter really shapes up around noon here. Even some big-time significant tornado parameter around here, but there's some big-time fuel for significant tornadoes to form around here, guys. As you can see, all the way up to these reds form all the way up to Wichita here. So these could be some big-time supercells as this gets to a 5 here on the significant tornado parameter. Big-time tornadoes could form ahead of this here, guys. So we're going to have to really keep an eye on this. And then if we look at the surface-based cape here, So some big time cape forming here from the 2000s to 3000s here, mostly, and even up to almost close to 4,000 will form here. So big time fuel for thunderstorms to form here, all the way up to Wichita down to Oklahoma here. So we're gonna have to be really weather aware here if you're in these areas, because these big time supercells can form here, and with some big time energy for these supercellular thunderstorms to form all the way in these areas, guys. So now we're done with the models, and now we're gonna look at SBC's day 4 and day 5 risk. So now if we look at these risks of severe weather, on day 4 we have a massive, not a massive, but we have an enhanced risk of severe weather on day 4, guys. This is rare. It's rare even to get a day 4 slight risk. So this is a big time risk to form around here, guys, in the similar areas in Oklahoma City, Norman, Lawton, Edmond, and Wichita Falls are all under this enhanced risk, and then Dallas, Fort Worth, Tulsa, Arlington, Plano are on the slight risk. So an enhanced risk on day 4 is really big here, guys. So they're talking about this could be a significant severe weather event to play out here, guys. All in these areas here, especially in the 30% enhanced risk. So we're going to have to be extremely weather aware if you're in these areas. With wind damage, a few tornadoes, large hail with supercells to form here, guys. And then the day 5 outlook is another big slight risk that forms here into southern Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, a little parts of Mississippi, a lot of Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, and Oklahoma here. In all these areas in Dallas, Memphis, Plano, Garland, and Shreveport. So we're going to have to be very weather aware if you're in any of these outlooks for this here, guys. So just be very weather aware. So yeah, if you're in these outlooks here, I'd be very weather aware. Well, I hope you guys liked this video, and bye.